born, I have always listened to my mom playing the piano, and the sound that came out of the instrument always pleased me. When I was between 2 and 3 years old, I started pretending I was a pianist just like my mom. I used to pick up a book or some magazine, imagine it would be my sheet music book, and start banging my hands on the furniture as if I were really playing the piano. And I used to do that a lot. And probably it must have been a little annoying for my parents, although in my head I was rocking, but they never asked me to stop. Instead, they bought a little piano with a book of children's sheet music that I could play just by following a sequence of numbers. Each number corresponded to a key on the piano. But as I was growing up, I started to get a little sick of the little piano because I wanted to play on the big one, just like my mom. So by the age of 6, my parents put me to learn piano for real, and since then I have never stopped it. But what didn't go through my parents' minds, much less mine of course, was how much contact with music from a very early age could positively influence my schooling. In fact, not only my schooling, but the way I speak, the way I express myself, and many other things. In fact, what happened was a musical education process. Let's consider one situation. Imagine you going to the gym and doing a super workout that involves your arms, your legs, and your spine at the same time. That is exactly what happens to our brain when we are playing an instrument, a complete brain exercise. That is, when you are playing, your motor, visual, and auditory cortex are being exercised. Well, we know that we have our brains basically split in two. One side is more creative and the other more technical. And we also know that between these two hemispheres there is kind of a bridge called the corpus callosum, which allows information passed to one side to another. So, scientists have discovered that musicians have a bigger bridge than people who don't play any instrument. In other words, in a musician's brain, messages get across the brain faster and through more diverse routes. But what does that change? Following the logic, we can say that musicians are able to solve problems much more effectively and creatively than others, in both academic and social settings. Can you see how great this is? Scientists have also discovered that musicians have a highly developed memory system. That's because when a musician forms a memory, he puts a tag on it, an emotional tag, a visual tag, a contextual tag, a tag, and that helps a lot. I love this part that I'm going to talk about now because everyone can identify a little bit. They also found that music helps people get comfortable with the uncomfortable. For example, learning is uncomfortable. We ask our brain and our body to do things they have never done before. If you think about it, everything new is weird at first. It's challenging. Think with me. When you're playing, you have to read the score, process the information, and perform. And when you have to do it in front of a lot of people, when you have to avoid as much as mistakes as you can, it's a super challenge. At first, it feels terrible, but as time goes by, the time you do it increases. It's not that bad anymore. In fact, you become more confident in musical matters and in life itself. And all the benefits make me think more about the fact that music education can contribute to many aspects in our society today. For example, learning disorders. At present, many are perceived as a poor communication between the right and left hemispheres of the brain. And as we have seen before, music education makes these parts of the brain work very well together. ADHD, again, is understood as a poor communication between the motor, auditory, and visual cortex. And as we have seen before, music education makes these parts of the brain work very well together. My point is to show how good is to have contact with music from a very early age. If parents, along with school, started to invest in these parts, they could see great developments in their children in the future. Surely there will be no losses.